All right, I am Teacher Ma from 591 Lab. I'll record our latest DC 3.1 configuration. I've named this new version 3.1 as opposed to our old version DC 3.0. This version is DC 3.1, and within it, the part concerning S3, which includes S1 and S2, is what you're seeing in this video, the configuration content for the S3 section. Let me first give a brief overview of the overall topology for everyone to understand. Compared to the old 3.0 version, the overall changes in 3.1 are not particularly significant. From a topological perspective, the changes aren't substantial. It still involves three data centers: Data Center 1, Data Center 2, and Data Center 3. The relationship between DC2 and DC3 remains a multi-port connection, unchanged from 3.0. The primary difference is in the uplinks within DC2 and the connection method to DC1. Previously in 3.0, the IPN connected to a 9K, which then connected to a 7K, and the 7K connected to the leaf below. That was the 3.0 topology. Now in 3.1, the topology is separated, isolated. The IP connects to an N9K, followed by an N7K, with no major changes there. It will still test multi-site configurations, which is part of S1. Then, for the connection to ACI, there are two additional N7Ks created using VDC. These are the extra two N7Ks you can see in the diagram below. DC2 N7K SW1 and DC2 N7K SW2 are there, where DC2 N7K SW1, as you can see, has a port channel, a VPC connecting leaf 1 and leaf 4, a VPC relationship connected to N7K SW1. Then N7K SW2 is a single line connected to leaf 1. This is the difference from the old version. The content it tests now includes an additional layer 2 extension, that is the L2 out, the expansion of the BD. It tests L3 out, and in this new version, it's relatively simple, an OSPF link. The BD expansion mainly focuses on these two 7Ks. Simply put, it's even simpler now. There are a few servers below, and this server is just one within this dashed box, still SRv5, with a characteristic of being a single server. SRv5's two network cards, one connected to leaf 2 and the other to leaf 3, are the same as in the old version, corresponding to the 1.1 interface. It's VLAN. Whether there's any difference from our 3.0, you can take a look. If you compare carefully, you'll see if there's any difference. It's just the VLAN number that differs. Other aspects like static short port binding are the same, including standard virtualization switch and static port binding. There are no problems there. The difficulty of the knowledge tested in this environment is not high, but the challenge lies in the volume of configuration. That is, its initial environment is completely empty. When you log into APIC, especially in the exam room, you will find that the tenant, VRF, all tenants, and the AEP status on each server are missing. On global, these AEPs are not present. What we have is a few necessary ones, just for the multi-port connections used. They are already initialized in the exam room, so you don't have to worry about it, and there are no mistakes. Port 1 and port 2, both ports are there. Everything is a blank configuration. That's the situation. All your configurations are basically based on its requirements, step by step. The volume is huge. The difficulty isn't high, but the quantity is enormous. That's the characteristic of version 3.1, and S3 is like this. In fact, the parts of S1 and S2 are basically similar, with very little pre-configuration. requiring a lot of configurations to be added. So the main thing with this configuration is proficiency. As long as you are proficient enough, there should be no problems. You can ensure that the first part, S1, can be completed in 2 hours out of 5, S2 in 1 hour, and S3 in 2 hours. Indeed, it involves a large volume, and if you can complete it in 2 hours, that's okay. So this is the first version of my video analysis. Although it's the first version, the solution is already relatively mature. After all, we have had exams, and the results, the lab scores, have already reached the passing level. So this solution is basically quite clear. There might be minor adjustments later, but overall that's the situation.